Yo, what is going on there, guys? You got Tone here, bringing you guys a draft recap, analysis, whatever you want to call it, for the first season of the PBL, or the Pseudo Battle League. I have decided to take up another league as the MPL is winding down to a close, and I kind of want to get my feet wet in another league. So here we are in this league that was put together by General Tar Heel and Panther 2, two people I've known in the past, mostly Panther 2 in that regard. But nonetheless, this is a new league, just started up not too long ago, and it's very similar to the NPA, in which this was a 24-person draft. Yes, it is that kind of draft where anything can get picked at any point in time. There will be snipes up and down the draft board, and I was no exception to that, but I do feel very, very comfortable with the team I did end up drafting in this league. So, like I said, before I go any further, I do hope that you guys are looking forward to this season as much as I am, just so I can have some more content to put on my channel outside of just MPL stuff. And I wanted to immerse myself back into Showdown leagues, just because I haven't done much Showdown since the MPL minors ended, and I already mentioned that I wouldn't return for that, so I figured to get myself back into Showdown, try to get myself more associated, or back into association with that. So here we are in the PBL with that mindset. So I will admit that some of the battles won't go won't be executed properly, and my skills in Showdown is rusty. And if you guys watch my previous games, you know I've also hit a funk, and I'll probably reiterate that part in the team builders and whatnot. But without out of the way, let's just jump right into the team we drafted with the Miami Malamarlins here. So the draft order was randomized. Now 24 coaches. I ended up with the 12th pick in the draft, so pretty much smack dab in the middle of the field. So I figured with the 12th pick, I needed to get something I felt comfortable using and something I felt comfortable building the team around. So with that being said, the 12th pick in the draft for the Miami Malamarlins and the first round pick for us ended up being Mega Gallade. Now, I have used Mega Gallade once before, and it was also the last time and only other time I did a 24-person draft in the MPA minors. And if you recall from that season, we made it all the way to the finals in the MPA minors. So I wanted to have some good, strong foundation with the team. Figured I'd grab Mega Gallade now because this thing has been picking up a lot of hype recently. Well, not really recently, but over the past few months, especially with the speed buff. So when a Mega evolves, it gets that base 110 speed right away, so it doesn't stay at base 80 for one turn, then it go to 110. Other than that, though, I just wanted to have something I felt comfortable using. Mega Gallade's definitely one of those mons that I do feel comfortable with. There's also the fact that it has a very, very good attack stat, base 165, solid speed tier at 110, good special bulk, and it has a lot of options at its disposal, not just reliant on sword stance variants. Bulk up I've ran before in the MPA minors, SD3 attacks, 4 attacks, you can mix it up however you want. The support moves are also there, Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, Destiny Bond if you really want to go that option. But yeah, Mega Gallade really has a lot going for it in general, and I felt like grabbing it in the first round with this pick just felt more comfortable to me. I wanted to make sure that the team that I build with, I felt comfortable using, and I didn't want to have any issues in that regard. So that's why we grabbed Mega Gallade with our pick, and also because of the fact that, like I said, there's absolutely no way Mega Gallade was going to come back to me round number 2. So in previous drafts, or with other people I've seen use Mega Gallade on their draft, it was stressed that they had two important things to back up Mega Gallade. The first one being a bulky steel type, and the second one being a strong dark type to counteract bulky psychic types that Mega Gallade does have some trouble with, even though it does have access to knock off an X-Scissor. So I figured with my next 2 picks, I am going to address the issue of getting a bulky steel type and also getting a strong dark type. So with that, so first and foremost, I got the bulky steel out of the way right away. And as you can see, I also got to mention this. It's a tier draft. This isn't a points draft. So your 4 through 11 Pokemon, and with the tiering you see there, and then 400 points for 4 free picks. So my apologies for not saying that earlier. But anyway, my round 2 pick, I wanted to address the bulky steel type. There was 2 options at my disposal that I was looking at, and I got my primary one. And if anyone who knows me and has seen most of these games I play on my channel, you already know the bulky steel type I went after, and it had to be none other than Ferrothorn. like me without a Ferrothorn just doesn't make any sense, I know. But there were 2 options at the disposal. Ferrothorn was the primary one, and the main reason I got Ferrothorn now was because I knew for a fact Ferrothorn wasn't coming back to me round 3. That was the first one. The second one, Ferrothorn to tier 2. If I didn't get Ferrothorn round 2, my backup option was to get Skarmory. But Skarmory was tier 1, and I didn't want to go into tier 1 just yet, because there was one Pokemon, or at least 2 Pokemon I was looking at in tier 1 that I possibly could have gotten later on in the draft. So I didn't want to go for a tier 1 then, and then have another tier 1, and I didn't feel comfortable with it. And like I said, I wanted to address the bulky steel and strong dark type now, before I did anything else in my draft. Ferrothorn fits the bill. Albeit it's not really the best in terms of checking certain things, like the bulky steel type would normally, you would want to be resistant to flying. Ferrothorn doesn't resist flying, but it still has the fairy resist. And on top of that, it does have some good overall utility moves. It's a Stealth Rocker, a Spiker, gets access to other stuff like Leech Seed, so it does have that good recovery going for it. And overall, I just felt like the pairing between Gallade and Ferrothorn is pretty nice. There is some issues, like I said, with Ferrothorn not being able to cover flying types, but I still felt as though Ferrothorn did do me some good justice in this particular draft. May have been a stretch for round 2, but like I said, it's a 24-team draft, and I didn't want to risk not getting Ferrothorn or some sort of bulky steel type, at least early on in the draft. So that out of the way, the next thing I addressed was the strong dark type, and I felt as though the best dark type that was available to complement Mega Gallade at this point was the Crocodile. Now, there were some other options in terms of a strong dark type, but Crocodile was just the best one that stood out to me because of the fact that it has access to Intimidate, it's another Stealth Rocker, it can be a Choice Scarfer with Moxie, EQs and all that stuff. It also gives my team a Psychic immunity and an Electric immunity all in one. Not to mention the fact that Crocodile is very nice at pressuring bulky Psychic types or in pursuit trapping stuff, bulky Psychic types in and of itself, for Mega Gallade, make it easier for it to handle its business, sweep, whatever the case may be. The main downside, I feel as though I just wish Crocodile was a little bit faster. 92 speed isn't bad, but I think if it was just a little bit faster, like 95 or 96, whatever the case may be, I feel as though Crocodile would be a lot better than tier 3, but nonetheless, I feel as though it was the strongest dark type available at that point in time, because obviously Weavile is gone, so had to snag out the next best thing. And also gives me, like I said, the Stealth Rocker, so I don't have to bring Stealth Rock on my Ferrothorn every single week in that case. So yeah, that is the Crocodile pick for round number 3. Now for round number 4, and the main thing I was looking at when it came to trying to build with Mega Gallade in mind was to have other Pokemon which benefits from what Mega Gallade can set up on and take out. Mainly, it can deal with opposing strong Dark-type Pokemon, and I felt as though I wanted to pair Mega Gallade with a Pokemon that appreciates those strong Dark types gone in and of itself, and also a way to have some sort of wall breaker in the back so Mega Gallade, it makes it easier for Mega Gallade to sweep in the late game, whatever sort of situation may come up. And there was one Pokemon in Tier 1 that actually gave me the perfect excuse to get it because of the team that's structured around it. And that Pokemon just so happened to be Blacephalon. Now, well, there's not really much else to say. This is the first time I am using Blacephalon in Draft League format, and not gonna lie, it is kind of an interesting choice, but I got it round number 4. Mega Gallade plus Blacephalon just sounded so nice as an offensive core, because Blacephalon struggles with not only just Tyranitar, but the pressure of being pursuit trapped and all that stuff. It just hinders it very, very much. And on top of that, Mega Gallade handles those strong dart types that can pursuit trap it. It can handle special walls that can eat up hits from Blacephalon. And on top of that, Blacephalon is a great wall breaker. It can be a Choice Specs user, Choice Scarf user. Not really much else to say about that, but it's just a very solid wall breaker in general. And on top of that, it just felt right. Like, I felt like my team needed some immediate offense, so I'm not so reliant on trying to set up or wear my opponent down through the means of like Toxic and all that stuff. Blacephalon gives me that opportunity to give me some offensive pop on my team, and just like I said, it is formed up a very, very nice combination with Mega Gallade and the rest of my team in general, because it gives me also another backup Fairy check or Fairy resist in that sense. And also gives my team a fighting immunity, because as you can see, both Ferrothorn and Crocodile are both weak to fighting. I at least have some sort of fighting check in the back, but of course Gallade also resists fighting as well, so I don't feel as though it's that big of a deal, but that is the Blacephalon pick here. So, heading into round number 5, the one thing I wanted to do now was to finish my defensive backbone here, because I got my Ferrothorn just chilling here in tier 2 where it can be pressured out, and I need to have some sort of bulky water type. So that was my next thing I addressed here. So in round number 5, we picked up Slowbro here. Maybe a stretch for round 5, but Slowbro plus Ferrothorn is just a very, very nice defensive combination, simply because of the fact that Ferrothorn is weak to fire and fighting, Slowbro resists fire and fighting. It may not be the same in the other's essence, considering the fact that Ferrothorn does not resist Ghost, it does resist Electric, but I have Crocodile for that in essence. And Ferrothorn does double resist Grass. And I also have Blacephalon can act as a Grass check as well, but Slowbro is just very nice. It's a very nice physical wall, a very nice pivot with the generator. Never used it before, but at the same time, felt very exciting, gave me a good reason to pair it up with Ferrothorn, just to have that defensive backbone to rely on. Makes it easier to stuff on my Blacephalon and my Gallade, Crocodile, whatever the case may be. And overall, I'm pretty excited to use it, not gonna lie. I've seen other people use it with some success. I know Slowbro has fallen from grace over the course of Draft League format from Gen 6 to Gen 7. But I decided to give it a shot here just because of the fact that the other bulky water types I either didn't want to use or they were already gone. And more or less, I actually was going to grab Toxapex, but Toxapex was tier 1, didn't want to waste a tier 1 on Toxapex, to be perfectly honest. So that's the general idea with getting Slowbro here for tier 2. So moving on now, the next thing I wanted to do was get some sort of hazard removal, and at the same time I was going to try to get another stealth rocker or hazard setter to make it easier for Crocodile or Ferrothorn. Unfortunately, I did get sniped though, as I was originally planning on getting Diancie this round, but at the same time I managed to grab some sort of removal, which I didn't have as of yet on this team. So with round 6, I picked up Comfey. Now, Comfey is a sort of strange case. It's not the first thing that comes to mind, especially when you're looking for something with hazard removal, but at the same time, the fact that Comfey does get access to defog, still trying to figure that part out. It gives my team a hazard remover for something like Blacephalon, and on top of that, it gives me momentum with U-turn, and Triage, Draining Kiss can come in handy at times when you want to pick off a weakened opponent. On top of that, it gives me momentum too with access to U-turn. It could be a Calm Mind setter, it could be a Stall Breaker with Taunt. So, has some things going for it. It wasn't my ideal choice for the Fairy type. Like I said, I was looking to get Diancie, but not saying that Comfey is a bad Pokemon, but going to take some getting used to in terms of using Comfey, especially if I'm forced to bring Defog on it or something along those lines. So yeah, that is my Comfey for round number 6. Now heading into round number 7, I didn't really think these next few picks through. They were Pokemon I wanted, but there were Pokemon in which I probably could have waited another round to get. So I'll get to that right now actually, because my round 7 pick ended up being Venomoth. Now I was looking at Venomoth the entire time. Like the last time I did MPA Minors with Mega Gallade, I had Volcarona on this team. I wanted to have some strong bug type that complement Mega Gallade that wasn't so weak to Stealth Rock. Volcarona is 4 times weak to rocks, and I already had Blacephalon. I figured the next best thing was Venomoth, because of the fact that strong bug typing, not 4 times weak to rocks, T-Spike Absorber, and on top of that, Tinted Lens. That was the main selling point with grabbing Venomoth now. Not really grabbing it now, but more so I could have waited one more round, because as I get into later rounds, I'll explain my other snipe here. But Venomoth, I already mentioned, like, Shield Dust is a cool ability, so in secondary effects doesn't affect it. Tinted Lens was the main selling point because of the fact that resisted hits aren't really resisted anymore. And Wonder Skin is kind of a iffy ability, but I don't really see a use for it. But other than that, it does look kind of overwhelming from a stat perspective. But Venomoth, if it gets a Quiver Dance or 2, can absolutely go in on an unprepared team, especially when equipped with a Z Crystal. So Pokemon that resist bug or poison, they're going to take a lot more damage than they're accustomed to doing with other under normal circumstances from other Pokemon in that regard. So on top of that, Venomoth also gets Defog too, but I'm gonna try to avoid running Defog on Venomoth if at all possible with this with Venomoth here. So now moving on into round number 8, my round 8 pick ended up being Kamala here. So with Kamala here, I really wanted to ensure I had some way of reliably getting rid of hazards on my side of the field. Because Defog Comfey, Defog Venomoth sounds kind of non-existent, although it does exist. But I just need to have that. I just felt like having a strong Rapid Spinner or Hazard Remover in general would benefit my team. Kamala was the best choice available for a Hazard Remover. I'm not saying it's bad though. Comatose is great because it can't be stats, it's always asleep. And there are some cool stuff you could do with it, mainly stuff like Choice Band, Sleep Talk with Last Resort, and all that stuff. So that sounds like a pretty cool tech to run. Also can do like Swords Dance, you can be an Assault Vest user, a Wish Passer. It also gets access to U-Turn. So some little niche stuff here, but mainly this is my primary choice of Hazard Remover here. Unless my opponent has a Ghost type, then I'll opt for Defog if I feel like Hazard Stack is really threatening to my team. So that is the Kamala. So now moving on to round number 9. My round 9 pick ended up being Haxorus. Now, not gonna lie, Haxorus wasn't the initial choice. The initial choice for my Dragon type was going to be Dragonite, but that unfortunately got sniped too, which is why I kind of wish I took Dragonite round 7 instead of Venomoth. But nonetheless, Haxorus isn't bad in and of itself. It gives me a setup mon to complement Mega Gallade, Wear Down. They both share the same checks, more or less. Primarily bulky fairy types like Sylveon, Togekiss, all that stuff. So they can wear down each other's checks, so either one of them can sweep. And on top of that, Mold Breaker, a very solid ability. Same thing with Unnerve, but mostly it's going to be Mold Breaker if of anything in terms of that. So, and plus on top of that, Z Haxorus, under the right circumstances, can be an absolute menace to face if the situation calls for it, and if there's an unprepared team for Haxorus. So, looking forward to using Haxorus. Like I said, some of these Pokemon I've never used before, so I'm really looking forward to that. Haxorus being one of them, and it's a very nice setup mon in general, which complements Gallade in my opinion. So moving on to the last two picks, the first thing I wanted to address was the speed factor, because at this point in time, my fastest Pokemon was Mega Galata base 110 speed. So I wanted to have something faster to check the other faster threats on the team. So with that, round 10, picked up Electrode. Mainly Electrode is primarily here to abuse the base 150 speed that it has at its disposal. Because it's so fast, I can afford to run Modest on most occasions, unless I'm very, very petrified about Choice Scarfers, which is not going to be much of not going to be much of an issue, but at the same time, though, they do still exist. Not the strongest Pokemon in terms of an offensive capability, but if I'm able to get some stuff weakened in Hazard Stack at some point with Crocodile plus Ferrothorn, and I feel like Electro can put in some work. Plus, it gives me another access to Momentum with Volt Switch. It's not, like I said, not the strongest Pokemon, but primarily Electro is here for the speed factor, which I did sort of lack on my team. And with that, my last pick, I wanted to address the fact that this entire team is grounded. So yeah, I want to have at least some way of I want to have some ground immunity on this team. So with that, my last pick in the draft ended up being Braviary. Not the first choice that came to mind in terms of a ground immunity, but having a flying type in general is still pretty nice to have, mostly because of the fact that there are some teams that don't really have the best of flying checks, and under the right circumstances, Braviary can shine in that department, especially the fact that it also gives me a defog deterrent with Defiant. So not the fastest Pokemon, but again, I didn't really need the speed since I had Electrode. But I at least wanted to have a Pokemon like Braviary, which sits between Kamala at 65 speed, and then the next fastest Pokemon prior to Braviary was Venomoth at 90. So I want to have that in-between factor in terms of my draft. So Braviary was the Pokemon in question that gave me that access to that speed tier. And if I have to, I can run Defog on this as well, and it also gives me another momentum grabber with U-turn. So yeah, that is going to be the draft recap for the Miami Malamarlins for Season 1 of the PBL. I hope you guys did enjoy the recap. If you guys did enjoy, feel free to leave a like. Week 1 goes up next Friday. At the time that I am putting this up, team builders will be up on Thursday if I'm able to whip those out. So, that all being said, I am going to hit the heck out of here. Hope you guys did enjoy, and until the next time, this is Tone, signing out for now. Peace out.